Hello students, welcome to your computer class. In the previous videos, we studied about the various input devices in a computer system. Hope you would have understood all about all the input devices. Today we will start with the hardware part. That is the hardware elements of a CPU. Children, as you have read in your earlier classes, that computer is a combination of software and hardware elements. Now, the hardware devices of CPU are broadly categorized into memory and storage device, the main circuit, the processor, and the power controller, that is SMPS, and ports and cards. So in today's class we will study about the memory and storage devices. Now, what is memory? Memory in context to a computer system refers to location of storage of information. Now, before explaining you this, I just want you to give an example. Suppose we as human beings, where do we keep our information? We keep it in our memory, our mind. Similarly, the computer system also requires some storage device to record the information. Now, the CPU stores the data in the memory or the storage device that can be used or retrieved whenever required. Now, just a simple example I am giving you. You must all have seen CDs or pen drives. What are these? These are example of memory or storage devices. We store songs, videos or information, and whenever we like to listen to the music or want to see the video, we could see. Or in other words, we can say that we can retrieve information from those files. Now, memory receives instructions and data from the input devices and stored them till they are needed by other parts of the computer. So basically, what is it talking about? It is talking that the input devices gives the information to the computer, and the computer stores all this information in the memory device. Okay, and once the instructions are executed and the results are transferred temporarily to the memory, the results are then transferred to the permanent location, which are then stored in a storage device. So, the memory is used for two purposes. Number one, to store data and information given by the input devices, and other to store the intermediate results that a computer is processing. Now, you can understand it like this, that suppose computer has to do a calculation. Now, a calculation may generate some intermediate result, which this result can be used in another calculation. So, this intermediate result is to be stored somewhere. So, this is stored in the computer's memory, and that is retrieved some other time whenever it is required. Now basically the computer memory is grouped into two types of memory. Number one is the primary memory and the secondary memory. So first we will read about the primary memory. Now what is primary memory? It is also called the main memory. It is the part of CPU which stores data and instructions that are meant for current processing. Now just let us take a simple example. Suppose computer has to calculate two numbers. Suppose 5 plus 10. Now this data 5 and 10 is stored somewhere. The instruction plus is also stored somewhere. The computer just takes the data and instruction, performs the calculation and then stores the result. In this case 5 plus 10, that is 15, in some other memory location. So as you see that to store the data as well as instruction, here data is 5 and 10, the instruction is the plus sign and the result is 15. All this data, instruction and result need to be stored somewhere, and that is stored in the memory. And basically the primary memory, the current data and instructions are stored in the primary memory. But the problem with the primary memory is that it is of very small size. Its capacity is very much less, though it has a very high speed. It can transfer data in a very high speed, but it has very low capacity. So to store a large amount of data, we need secondary memory. That about the secondary memory we will study later on. Let us first today discuss about the primary memory. Now the primary memory can be classified into two parts: the RAM, that is called the random access memory, and the ROM, that is called as read-only memory. Now then, what is a RAM? What is a RAM? Now it holds the information temporarily. Means whatever is written in RAM is not written forever. During the ongoing operation of the computer, means it holds that information only in one cycle of the computer, that is said as during the ongoing operation of the computer. When the computer is under operation, the data and instructions come into this memory, means the RAM, for instant access. So as you know that this primary memories are have very fast exchange of data. So and the processor is also of very high speed. So whatever instruction is stored here, or whatever calculation is to be performed, the data required by that calculation is stored is brought into the RAM first. Then the CPU takes that data from the RAM. During the course of the execution of the instruction, some intermediate results may be produced which are stored in the RAM itself. Now, RAM also comes in various memory sizes. For example, 1 GB, 2 GB, 4 GB, 8 GB, 16 GB and 32 GB. There are different types of RAM like SRAM, DRAM, SDRAM, EDRAM and ECRAM, etc. Now RAM is also referred to as volatile memory. Volatile memory means when the computer is switched off, whatever was stored in the RAM will disappear. It will not be there infinitely. So RAM is called as volatile memory. Now we will talk about ROM. ROM stands for read-only memory. It stores a set of predefined instructions for the internal operation of the computer. It is also referred as non-volatile memory or firmware. Children, as I said you that in RAM, as soon as you switch off the computer, whatever was written in the RAM will disappear. But it is not the case with the ROM. In ROM, whatever is written permanently. It is therefore also called as the firmware. Whenever you switch on the system, whatever information is stored in RAM will never disappear. Once the user switches on the computer automatically does a series of sequence tasks like post, power on, self-test. Now what is this power on self-test? The computer system, when switched on, checks all its parts, all its input devices, output devices. It checks whether all the system is working properly or not. That is the RAM test before the user starts its operation. Now where is this instruction stored? How does the computer know that it has to do the power on self-test? All these instructions are stored in a RAM. The instructions for such predefined set of tasks are stored in ROM. The information on this memory can be read, but it is not possible to write new information on it. Please note it down that whatever is written in ROM can be read, but it is not possible to write new information on it. By any normal means or operation, there are different types of ROM like PROM, EPROM, EEPROM and Flash ROM. Now, another type of memory we'll study is the cache memory. Now, beside RAM and ROM, there are some other primary memories like cache or buffer. Now, cache is very fast memory and it is just a part of central processing unit. It is used when there is swapping of information between the primary memory and the arithmetical and logical units. Children, you must have studied in your earlier classes that the CPU consists of the three parts: the central processing unit, the arithmetical and logical unit, and the memory unit. This memory unit consists of cache memory, which is a very high speed memory which is used to transfer data from the main processor so that the processor can do its work or function properly in a very high speed. Now children, I end my class today till here, till cache memory. Please go through your books and please try to remember what are the types of RAM and ROM and what are the uses of RAM and ROM. Now here I end my video. Thank you children.